Senator, thank you so much for coming on. The charge by the opponents to this measure is that it will encourage, indeed almost mandate, racial profiling.
Well, you know, again, I'm not surprised from the open border anarchist Luis Gutierrez and his amnesty efforts for years and years to reward illegal aliens that break the law. We've actually strengthened the civil rights provisions in this bill, but what we're not going to do is ignore the law anymore. Sanctuary policies are actually illegal under federal law. 8 U.S.C. 1644, 1373 says you can't restrict the communication of law enforcement to ICE. Yeah, we do it every day. Cities all across this nation have policies that we do for no other crime that says when an officer can ask and act. Well, we're taking those handcuffs off, and again, I've been in law enforcement most of my life. I have 2 boys that are police officers. You know, I believe in handcuffs. I think they're a great tool when they're on the right people. We're going to take them off from law enforcement. We're going to put them on the bad guy.
Okay, but that sounds good in principle, Senator. But it sounds good in principle.
And it is good.
But what the critics are saying is that this law says that you can determine, the police must determine the status of people, meaning are they illegal immigrants, if there is reasonable suspicion that they might be illegals.
Yeah.
And they're saying, let me just finish and then you can answer. And they're saying reasonable suspicion could be, hey, you look Hispanic. Show me proof that you're an American citizen.
Well, that's what they'd like you to believe, and it's just not true. First of all, you know, we empower our police officers to make some very, very tough decisions. We put a gun on them. They make life and death decisions. They investigate capital crimes. They investigate sophisticated crimes. But yet we're worried about them picking up the phone and calling ICE. 95% of the time, it's a phone call to ICE. It's outrageous, and the pundits would have you. Again, they don't care about Rob Krentz, who was killed on the border just recently. They don't care about Officer Erfley that was murdered, Officer Atkins that was murdered, Officer Figueroa that was killed, Officer Martin, Officer Setkath, Officer Schechter Lee, Officer Deputies Pearce, Archer. I can go through the list. Chris Miller. When does it end? When do we stand up for Americans and America? Enough is enough. I mean, even those that come across that are so-called, you know, not bad guys, they're still taking jobs from Americans. 26-year high in unemployment. We're going to stand up for the rule of law. Arizona has become ground zero. We're number 2 in the world in kidnapping. It's become the home invasion, carjacking, identity theft capital of the nation. We're not taking it anymore. We're going to enforce our laws with compassion,
but Senator,
without apology.
Is there, the other side says that there's a way of doing it without leading to a crackdown on people who are here legally, who suddenly get targeted because they have skin that is of a darker color. And they say, look, okay, so tighten up the border, crack down on preventing the illegal immigration in the first place. But once people are here in this country, how is it that you prevent police from bothering people just because they happen to look Hispanic?
Well, first of all, illegal is not a race. It's a crime. Nowhere in there. In fact, in this bill, we've tightened up the civil rights provisions. You cannot do racial profiling.
But it says if they have a reasonable suspicion that the person is an illegal immigrant. So does that not, so skin color is not enough?
No, it's not enough. We make it clear in the bill. But we're going to enforce the law. Here's what the pundits have you. They're the same people that don't want the laws enforced, have advocated for years on amnesty, who continue to ignore the damage to America, the cost in billions of dollars, the deaths, the maimings, the crime. We just sentenced a guy, 169 years in prison, 3-time deported guy, child rapist, multiple crimes. I mean, the people are tired of it. And I'm tired of going to the funerals from these good people. Some of them have been friends. We're going to enforce our laws.
Senator,
and the left would have you believe there's always something wrong with enforcing the law. We've written civil rights protections in the bill.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to give you a chance to respond to some criticism of you that was in the New York Times, very publicly leveled, saying that...
Yeah. Well, of course, if you want fiction, you can go to the library and have a better choice.
Well, I just want to tell the folks what they're saying about you, and then you can have the chance to respond. They say that, number one, you appeared in a widely circulated photograph with a man who was a featured speaker at a neo-Nazi conference. Number 2, in 2006, you spoke admirably of a 1950s federal deportation program called Operation Wetback, and you sent an email message to your supporters that included an attachment from a white supremacist group. This is what they say about you, sir. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, and they know the truth. They continue to report. That picture was taken at a pro-American rally. You don't do background checks and people step up. That was from the New Times. It's an off-wall liberal leftist paper. The guy who wrote that's an avowed communist. I mean, you know, the attacks get silly. You know what? They're going to call names. That's their best defense. In 60 years, I've never been accused of inappropriate behavior. The chief deputy of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office spent my career in law enforcement. I've never had allegations of misconduct or unfair treatment of anybody. That's an outrageous, accusation. It's embarrassing that they would even do that. It's not true. It's never been true. You know, I have two grandchildren that are Hispanic, have a daughter-in-law. Enough is enough. You know, this is not about race. It's about enforcement of the law and how they love to demean you and how they love to silence you by the name calling. And it's not going to affect me. I'm going to be vigilant on this. I care about this country and this republic. I will fight for it. I'll be vigilant. We're going to enforce the laws in Arizona. And unlike Vegas, what goes on in Arizona doesn't stay in Arizona. We're the main entryway for the rest of this nation.
I'm up against a hard break, but Senator
Megan,
Pearce,
thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on.